Hey guys, it's here bringing you another video. Welcome back to Learning from Challenges, the series I do about once a week at the moment. Basically, I look at a challenger player and we zone in on one champion that I want to get better at, I may want to pick back up, and we see what they do. Do they do anything different? Can I learn anything from it? And obviously we do it in a commentary style. But, you know, me commentating is also me learning. So hopefully you guys will enjoy. We're playing Lee Sin. We're not playing. We're watching Lee Sin today. I'm not familiar who this player is. But basically what I did is go on EU West and look at, like, challenger players. And I looked for the top played on the right-hand side who had Lee Sin in their top played champions. I clicked on the few junglers that did and see which one had a recent Lee Sin game. This was the guy that had the most recent Lee Sin game at 500 LP on EU West in Challenger. I don't know how well he does specifically. I just know if it was a victory or a defeat. But I want to see what he does. I want to see his jungle pathing and stuff, because I haven't jungled properly in a long time, so I might be able to learn a little bit about that too. So it does seem he's starting red buff. He's starting also machete with a refillable, which is standard. Team comp-wise, obviously, there is a bit of a weird enemy team comp. You've got a guy who's playing Kled mid. I presume his Tryndamere got banned if he's a Tryndamere one-trick. And then there's an Aurelia bot lane. So yeah, it's a little bit of a weird team comp, but obviously that's standard and meta right now. So first thing I've noticed, number one, Lee Sin starts W. I don't ever start W. So that is probably to maintain a decent health pool. So that is also one. Already, we're 1 minute into the video or whatever. I've already learned something. So again, he definitely has more health than I normally do when starting. Obviously, he has red buff as well, which will give him regen in between his camps. Kills the small ones first. He did open up with Q. He's letting the red buff actually... Oh, there we go. He was trying to let the red buff kill the mini wolf, but it actually doesn't die. So this is interesting. So again, with the meta being so crab heavy, he's at the moment ignoring the scuttle crab. He's just going for a full, or a mediocre full jungle clear. So he does both buffs, and then probably going to look for something after that. So he now has vision. Maybe he asked for this. He's now cancelling that to then walk over to the graves. Obviously, scuttle crab is the prize here. I don't even know who got that. I think... Did Lee Sin get that? No, Graves, I believe, got that. So a lot of death happening. Flashes coming in. Aurelia comes in for a play. A lot of craziness. Graves should actually be getting focused a little bit. Aurelia dies in the back line. Kled is now over here. Swain very low. Kled following. They're going to potentially go for the Kled because he is completely now out of position. So they should actually be able to try and pick this guy up. He does go for a flash play. Ignite is coming down. Teleport by Aurelia is here. This game's crazy. This is a challenger game. The Lee throws a Q, no one's there, so there we go. So that fight ends in a bad way for the Lee Sin's team. Craziness. Because of Scuttle Crab. Like I said, it's a Scuttle Crab meta, baby. So now he returns to do a bit more farming. He opens up with a smite to get the, obviously, health return. And now he's probably going to head on over to that blue buff. Yeah, why not? So again, Scuttle Crab was taken red team. Oh, wait, no, Lee Sin actually did get that, if I'm not mistaken. That shows red. Lee Sin's on red team. So Lee Sin actually did get that Scuttle Crab. So that's pretty good. But obviously the fight from there went really bad. Top lane does seem that they traded. Gangplank versus Jace. Jace definitely has advantage in the early game with being a ranged champion. But yeah, obviously that fight basically made most people use all their sums. So Kled should be very vulnerable in mid lane right now. So I would not be surprised if we see Lee Sin head on over there. Because, he's melee, he's against a Swain, so he has roots. He's relatively squishy. And again, Kled mid. I don't really know why it's a Kled mid, but the guy's name over the left here is Trin Mechanics. So yeah, I presume it's a Tryndamere one-trick. And again, if you're in Challenger and you know a Challenger Tryndamere one-trick is playing, you just ban that Tryndamere. Not just, by the way, not biased to Tryndamere. If you know a Shaco one-trick is playing, or a Riven, you just ban their one-trick out. If they got the Challenger mainly with only one thing, they're obviously going to struggle on a lot of other stuff. But then they do end up getting one kill. Lee Sin is just returning to do a bit of farming. So again, quite a lot of farming. My recent Lee Sin episode in OffRole to Diamond, we did quite a bit of farming ourselves. And again, Lee Sin is more known for early game ganking. That went above him. Did he miss the last one? Or did it? No, see, there's one more Krug there, but he missed it. That will reset, though. It does automatically. So he should, again, if I was this Lee, I would look for a mid lane gank myself. If Swain can land an E, I would think Kled should die. So let's see. So Kled probably knows this is coming. He engages anyway, gets rooted, gets W. They're going to go for the kill. Again, this should have been fairly predictable. But boom, Kled just gets completely chunked. Good gank by Lee Sin. Because remember, not every single gank... A successful gank doesn't mean a kill. A successful gank means you did something that benefits your team. So Kled also goes for another play. Lee Sin lands a Q, goes for the kill, picks up another. Will he die? No, he gets out of tower range. And again, that is on that Kled engaging when he knew Lee Sin was in the area, but he goes in again. Lee Sin actually takes that cannon. You can see on the minimap the Scuttle Crab is spawning soon on bot side, so Lee is probably going to hover around this area to probably pick up that Scuttle. Lee's doing a bit of counter jungle, which is something that I don't actually do a lot of. But he's doing it because he has full vision of the Graves. So if Graves decides to walk this way, Lee Sin knows he can just walk away. He doesn't actually pick up the camp because then, boom, Graves has started to walk that way. Don't risk it. So you'll actually notice as well, Lee Sin is trying to stay around as long as he can. He goes, takes, you know, the fruit. He's, you know, regenning with his W, throwing smite out, trying to maintain health, trying not to go back like he's doing now. Trying to maintain his health, to not go back all the time. Because if a jungler is constantly having to back because they're low health, well, that's a lot of pressure that you no longer have on the map. So he's trying to stay around. He is probably going to go back now, or he's just staying. So, like, why is he staying? He pinged 2 or 3 times. This is Lee Sin pinging here, saying Graves could be in this area. So he's just hovering with the Rakan, seeing if Graves is around. Like, Aurelia is quite low, so the likelihood of getting ganked is quite high. They're all potentially going to try and go back. Lee Sin does go back. Aurelia engages potentially. Oh, that's a pretty bad engage by her. Using her W, but they are going to just pick up probably the kill. Gangplank ultimate comes out too for the slow. So that actually was a pretty bad engage, but turned around. If they could pick up that kill, that would be good. Doesn't look like it. Graves goes for a nice counter gank, and voila. So Graves is now level 6. Lee Sin is level 5, so he's a little bit behind in XP. And why is that? Well, you can see the farm difference. 46 to 31. That's honestly how that should go. Mid lane, W comes in. Does actually pick up the kill, does Kled. Lee Sin's bought his Tiamat now. Will Lee Sin pick up the kill? I would think so. Oh, actually has to use a control ward to get the kill. Which obviously is not great use of a control ward, but he does manage to pick it up. It is worth it because they do get an assist alongside the kill. So Lee Sin, again, not level 6 yet. He is very much behind in XP to the Graves, behind in farm. Now hits level 6 after killing the control ward. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets mid, if he gets his red, and then honestly looks for mid lane again. Like, again, if I put my mind in this Lee Sin, if he does something different, that's where we can learn. My guess would be he's going to focus mid lane more. And again, if he does something different, well, that's where I can learn. And I can try to work out why did he do something different. Because to me, the vulnerable Kled, he goes all in all the time. Again, if you want to go into stereotypes, he's called Trined Mechanics. They're very aggressive players usually. They overextend very easily. So that's why I would probably focus mid a lot more than on average. Kled goes for an ultimate. He does actually manage to get back to the Swain. Flash comes out. Rakan comes for a double charm. Enemy team is getting completely caught out here, but Graves does survive. Doesn't actually. Wolves do pick up the kill. Lee Sin is on his way from behind. Aurelia is now missing her stun completely. Lee Sin probably looking for a Q opportunity. Doesn't actually manage to land it. Aurelia is 3v1 right now. Lee Sin manages to get into it. Throws an ultimate out. Rakan back in with a charm. And there is a nice little finish. So they do end up killing basically the whole enemy team. That should be Dragon. So far I will say, again, this is a challenger Lee Sin. 500 LP. Lee Sin is one of his most played champions. He's good. You can tell he's good. He's 301, but there's nothing of his decision-making apart from one thing that I've kind of go, oh, that's different. Like, the only thing that has been like, oh, he's challenger, is you can just tell he's quite good. Like, just generally a good player. The only thing that has made me kind of go, oh, was at level 1 when he took W instead of Q. That's the only basically thing. Aurelia does pick up a kill, by the way, on the Ezreal by herself. So there's that. I think Ezreal actually teleported in to basically die there. Lee Sin is pinging the blue buff if he wants the Swain to come and get it. So, okay, so there is another thing. Decision-making for challenger Lee Sin. He is giving his blue buff away. Again, right now in the current meta of League of Legends, it's very common for junglers to keep their own buffs, even blue buff. Because, again, the jungle XP is in such a weird place with whoever gets Scuttle Crabs. Again, you could be having a good game of League as a jungler and be 2 levels down the enemy jungler, and you're having a good game. You're like, I haven't done much wrong, and I'm 2 levels down my jungle opponent. So that's why a lot of junglers have been taking those blue buffs. But Lee Sin, this one does actually give the blue buff away. So that is another thing worth noting. He's giving it away most likely because he's having a good game. He's 301. His Swain's not doing bad. And having blue buff against a melee champion like Kled is quite effective because you can poke and harass him a little bit more. So Lee Sin, again, his base. So he, again, remember he had Machete. Then he went into Tiamat. Then he went into the Warhammer component. And now he's also got Red Smite. So he hasn't finished his Red Smite yet at all. The first thing he went was Tiamat, and that is most likely for jungle clearance. So again, that is actually, again, that's another thing that I can learn, I guess, because I don't normally do that. Normally I go for relatively standard, you know, complete my jungle item fully, then go for something else. But that, again, that's made me learn and kind of go, oh, maybe I'll go for a Tiamat play the next time I play Lee Sin. And again, he's going Red Smite for more of the dueling potential. Again, Lee Sin did get hurt a little bit because of the trinket change, because, you know, there used to be a ward trinket, or a ward jungle item, sorry, that got removed. So Lee Sin, when it goes for insect kicks, is pretty much solely relying on his trinket. He is coming for a gank here. I don't think there's going to be anything from it. He does go for a ward to look for a play. Does land the Q, but decides to back away. Swain does die in the mid lane, by the way. Unfortunately, I think it was to a Zyra gank. Lee Sin picks up one little extra farm there too. Okay, so what am I looking for in the mid game is to see what this guy can actually translate his strength into. Like, he's 301. He's pretty strong. But what is he exactly going to use that? Because right now he's top lane. He's okay to be top lane right now because Dragon isn't up. But him being top lane is letting the enemy team know, hey, if we go and do something in bot lane, which they just did, Lee Sin isn't going to be here to do a counter gank. So that is obviously the one thing that I would say that's a bit weird to see in a challenger game. That, you know, the Aurelia and Rakan didn't go back. Lee Sin goes for a flash insect play. Gangplank going to try and follow up. Does get 1-2. Hits the barrel for the slow. Going to walk on up. Lee Sin just doing a bit of farming. Misses the Q. He wants to give the Gangplank this kill, by the way. But if it, you know, if it was like very close to dying, I reckon Lee Sin would have took that. But you can definitely see, like, for all those out there that think that you need to be the one to carry, you need to be the one, blah blah blah. That's true in certain aspects, but that is a challenger Lee Sin player, the pinnacle of League of Legends, giving a kill away. So you don't have to take every kill to climb when this Lee Sin is literally giving a kill. So anyway, a bot lane play happens. It does seem that they completely turn it around. The enemy team does end up all dying. And now the Lee Sin is with the Gangplank going for the first blood tower. So again, really nice Lee Sin play. Again, the clean mechanics. He's hitting a lot of these Qs. He does a nice insect flash play. Which again, Lee Sin right now, with how the champion is, does rely on flash quite heavily because he doesn't have a lot of wards. You know, there's no... The jungle ward item's gone. You can't always rely on your trinket for doing that because your trinket doesn't come up that often. So yeah, that's why Lee Sin got hurt pretty hard. So he does end up completing his jungle item. He goes for Warrior, which isn't surprising. He's 302. He is waiting, it does seem, for something. Boom, he completes his Ninja Tabby. So his item build so far has been Machete into Tiamat, into Warhammer Red Smite, complete the Red Smite, leaving the Tiamat, but then also getting Ninja Tabby. Fairly standard build, just in a different build order than I normally do. So that is something that I've definitely learned from this game. You know, farm-wise, you can see now he's actually getting into his stride. He is now even in farm with the Graves, and the Graves should be a lot higher than a Lee Sin. And Lee Sin has been involved in one more kill than the Graves. So this Lee Sin's having a great game. Again, it's just more what I'm interested in is seeing what does he do to translate it. Okay, so Jace comes probably a little bit too close. Lee Sin potentially going to look for a Q play. Gangplank hits the Q. Going to potentially go for an insect play. Doesn't need to. And there's another dead Jace. Unfortunate positioning by the Jace. He literally comes around the corner as Lee Sin's right there. You can't help those sometimes. Like, that's just an unfortunate timing. So he then does return. Graves is trying to bully him a little bit. Again, Lee Sin, I don't think, used his kick. He didn't. He did not use his kick for that. He uses his kick now. Manages to survive. Nope. Zyra plant picks him off right at the highest range. Again, Zyra being top lane at this time is a little bit weird. But there we go. That may translate into a Rift Herald, but the Swain and the Lee Sin's team does manage to counter it. Swain going for an ultimate play. This Kled can do nothing to this Swain now. Like, again, he's not a mid laner. Why play Kled mid lane? I don't know. Nice route into the explosion, and boom. Unfortunately, Rakan gets it, but again, sometimes that's going to happen. By the way, Aurelia has just been completely left alone this game. Like, she's just been free farming for a while. maybe the 1 and 5 Ezreal is a little bit tilted, so he's like, I'm not going against Aurelia anymore, who knows. But so far, this has been a pretty clean performance. That's the word that I'd use, a clean performance. There hasn't been many mistakes, if at all. You know, the Lee Sin just did die to that Zyra, which again, you could argue maybe he could have done a little bit more there, or run away a little bit earlier, or kick the Graves away a bit earlier so he could have get auto-attacked one less time. But you're talking the really minor things that really, when you're a human being, you can't really bog yourself down worrying about them too much. So Dragon is up. Are they going to go for a Dragon? Obviously, they already have one. Boom, they are going for Dragon. Lee Sin is leaving the blue buff. He could have started it. Again, if that was me, I probably would have taken that blue. He doesn't. He gives it away. Does my team have... My team does have vision that they are doing Rift Herald. Lee Sin decides to stay on the Dragon, and Gangplank is not pressuring it. So they're basically giving Rift Herald away for all that Dragon. Not entirely sure if that's worth it or not. There's the Rift Herald being killed. Again, Swain may have, you know, could have walked over there just to distract them, to slow them down. But they decide against it. And again, just to remind everybody, this Lee Sin build, it's a standard Lee Sin build, but it's very squishy. Like, you just saw there, that Jace Q and this Jace is 1 and 3. That was a decent chunk of Lee Sin's health. So, yeah. Kled does seem to go for another engage. Does get countered once again. Nearly dead. Unfortunately, the root doesn't hit. But this is where they should be pressuring mid lane, because Aurelia gets a kill in a 2v1, by the way. And now, the enemy team, Kled has got zoned. He's going for a play. Don't know what just happened to that Rakan, actually. He just stopped. This is a bit risky, but Lee Sin does end up killing it. He is going to just go for the Jace. Does get E'd, unfortunately, by the Zyra. Probably worth. He does pick up the tower for his death. Again, it's unfortunate, but it's worth. In the grand scheme of things, that tower opens up the map completely. Enemy team Rift Herald is here. Gangplank is just split pushing in the bot lane, uncontested. So this could be the end of the mid lane tower as well. Let's see. So, yeah, that's gone. Gangplank does throw his ultimate down, most likely a little bit too late. And there is the tower being killed. Rift Herald, Swain is going to try and stop it from moving, because if it gets to about here, that's when it's going to go for a charge. Gangplank actually makes his way into behind the enemy team. Kled goes for another engage. Jace coming in, going to burst the... burst both of them, basically. And then that was a pretty poor fight overall. Jace going to potentially get himself caught out there. Lee Sin lands another Q, gets stunned. They're not going for it. They don't decide to go for it. Aurelia hits a triple Q. They're just trying to wave clear right now. Aurelia may go for an engage if she can. Lee Sin goes in, just goes for a bit of damage, backs out. Probably the right call there. Nice stun. Don't think they're going to get anything from it, I would reckon. Another Jace Q comes out. A lot of damage. So now, what is Lee Sin building? So again, he had the Tiamat from the beginning. You know, first item he fully complete was Tiamat. He's ignoring it. He's just leaving it alone. And I think, again, that is something that a lot of people may not do, but he's leaving it alone. He's now building a Phage, which is most likely for his Black Cleaver. Why? Gives him a bit of tankiness, gives him more damage, arguably, and it also gives him that armor penetration ability with the Black Cleaver stacking the armor stuff. So I think that's the right call. Again, if we can see there, if I'm not mistaken, Infernal Dragon is next, so you definitely want to make sure that we're paying attention when that dragon comes up. And again, it's the little things. Graves does steal that back, but it's the little things. You know, when Infernal's coming up, we have to look at like where Lee Sin is 30 seconds before that dragon comes up. That's very important, because that will let us know is if the Lee Sin is really like keeping an eye and thinking about the objectives and not just like kind of playing randomly. I would think that he is like thinking about things properly. Interesting. Okay, so again, he's a very, you know, generous Lee Sin. He gives Array his red buff. The Aurelia is strong, obviously, but this Lee Sin, he's doing fine. But at 90 minutes of the game, he is already giving all of his buffs away to his laners. Like, he's given blue buff up from the second blue buff. He's given, like, that's a third, or, you know, third, I think, red? Third or fourth? Already giving red buff up. And he's quite strong. But the Lee Sin probably knows that he probably falls off, and Aurelia doesn't. So, yeah, I'm going to just feed my Aurelia all this stuff. Engage coming in. Kled engages 3v1 for some reason. Zyra does end up dying. Kled's probably going to die by himself. Oh, nope. Does end up not dying, so they all just back out with a trade 1-for-1. Ezreal actually mispositions a little bit here. Lee Sin coming in. Unfortunate Q miss there. Does pick up 1 kill. Would have liked maybe a little bit more commitment by the Lee there, because I think if he got a kick in and it was like a rolling kick that he knocked up a few of them in the air, they could have potentially won that fight entirely. And again, remember, Infernal Dragon is coming up in just under 2 minutes, so keep your eye out of when, you know, where Lee Sin is at that time. So you're just kind of walking around. Baron's up now. Obviously, that's not on the cards. Gold-wise, he's got over 1,000 gold, so he could go back and buy his King Gold gem. Jace was randomly in the enemy territory, so he's going to go back. I presume he's going back for a King Gold gem. So yeah, again, some of these challenger games, it kind of makes you realize that, sure, they're very good players, but they don't play that much different to you. So far, this game, decision-making wise, has been pretty similar to what I would do. Or what I would guess. And if I'm guessing it, it's probably what I would do. The build-wise, sure, that's been a little bit different, so I've learnt there. Taking W level 1, I've learnt something about that, to not be, like, very low health at level 1. But apart from that, it's been a pretty standard Lee Sin, apart from just being a very good Lee Sin mechanically. But I want to see, again, we're getting into the stage that my team is probably going to want to group and want to try and get these fights in. What I want to look for is where the Lee Sin positions. Does he, like, again, he's pinging that dragon, so you can probably tell that he's on the ball ready for it. But where is he going to be in team fights? Engage coming in by potentially the Kled, does get the ult, does end up hitting the Aurelia. Graves gets completely stun-locked. Lee Sin doesn't manage to get anything more than that, though. Everybody survives, teleports coming in, and the fight is over. Dragon is in 30 seconds, so the team should go back and get their health back. Jace looking for as much damage as he can, because what the enemy team are thinking right now is if we can keep these guys low, we then can go and do Infernal. Where Lee's gone back to buy, there's a teleport coming in, so there could be a flanking opportunity. Really bad play by the Ezreal there, actually. Aurelia comes from the back line. Rakan gets a double knock-up. Lee Sin's in the mix, trying to get some damage done. Does pick up a double kill for himself. Good route by the Swain. And that is either Baron or that's Infernal. You can take your pick, and you probably can get both of them. What Graves should do is that like, if they're going Baron, he should go do Infernal. Now, what I will say, again, these are challenger players, so I don't want to pretend like I know more than them. But what I would say is potentially Infernal was a better call, but we'll see how this goes. Because Graves has decided to actually come over here, which I actually think is a mistake. If I was this Graves, I would accept that the enemy team are getting this, and I would have just gone to go do Infernal. I'd be like, right, they're getting a Baron, I can't stop that, he does end up dying, I'm going to go get the Infernal. Where my thought process was, you're really far ahead. Keep the snowball going. Baron, they're not going to do anytime soon, but they could do Infernal. Let's go do Infernal first and then do something after. Jace looking for a play here. Lee Sin's just going to try and see where he is. They topsy-turvy, change around. Lee Sin going for a little play, trying to get the kill. Probably not going to end up with it, I wouldn't think. Does hit the Q on the wrong target, and he will also die. A couple mistakes there, definitely. But they do end up with Baron on at least 2 people. So what they should be doing now is then going to look for the Infernal. The enemy team, I'll be honest, sure, going for that like counter Baron play, they got a couple kills. The Baron was already dead. They should have gone for that Infernal. The Infernal doesn't respawn. You know, there's a maximum of 3 Infernals that you can get in one game. Well, it's already 23 minutes in the game. No more brand new dragons are going to spawn until at 35 minutes onwards. So if you kill this Infernal, there's a chance for another one, and maybe another one after that, but I don't think so. But it doesn't come back. So yeah, the Graves is going for it. He does go into the pit by himself, which I actually say is a little bit of a mistake. Aurelia bullies him out. They should cancel this dragon. Aurelia should leave the pit and try to get this dragon back to full health. Because again, now the enemy team is open to taking this dragon for free. And boom, enemy team get it. So again, couple mistakes happening there. Good Zhonya's there. Rakan's coming in. Good knock-up. Lee Sin looking for a Q, does actually end up missing it. Enemy team got a lot more damage on the board right now because a few people have died. So this game is actually getting closer. It's less one-sided. The kills are getting closer. The gold is actually quite close. Play could happen here if Gangplank gets a couple good barrels. Doesn't look like it, so that's, again, further dominance by the enemy team. Lee Sin doesn't like this, so he was looking for potentially a smite. Doesn't end up getting it. Jace going to go for an engage. Lee Sin tries to escape. Does end up getting escape, but uses a control ward for it. So again, a little bit of messy play right now. But again, one thing you'll also notice, Lee Sin has still another control ward in his inventory. He's stacking control wards. So again, like I mentioned earlier, Lee Sin got nerfed, like, you know, indirectly, but kind of directly, when they removed the green trinket ward that gave wards on the jungle item. Well, nowadays, Lee Sin, if you want to have insect opportunities, you've got to buy multiple control wards just to have it in your inventory. So if this game goes late, that's where Lee Sin is actually at a big disadvantage, because he'll have 6 items and he can't buy any more control wards. He's full of items. So that kind of sucks for Lee. So I would want my team, honestly, to start grouping as 5 people, not these little 1v2 skirmishes that's been the most of this game. Group as 5 and see what you can do from there. Lee Sin does end up getting caught once again, is going to die. So again, this is all happening because they constantly are alone. They're not grouping. They have an amazing team fight, by the way. Like, Gangplank, Lee Sin kick, Swain, Aurelia with her massive ult that can stop people auto-attacking, and Rakan. That's a fantastic team fight. The enemy team doesn't have a bad one, but it's not as good as like this team over here. Just to point out, there is a 1 or 2 Baron still on the map. So the Aurelia and the Gangplank still has a Baron, and they're still not grouping. So it's not like, oh, none of us are Baron anymore, there's no point grouping. Still got Baron. Graves completely mispositions there. Don't know what just happened with him. That was weird. Again, just remind everybody, Challenger. Don't know what that was. Does just get killed for free. So build-wise, Lee Sin now. So again, does complete his Black Cleaver. Is now building a Jurim's Fist, which will be for Sterik's Gauge. Again, further reminding people, he is not completing that Tiamat item. He's just left it there the whole game. So right now there's a little bit of grouping happening, bit of a team fight. No one's died as yet. Swain's going for an ultimate play. Zyra does end up getting away, but they are in the slow for the Gangplank ultimate. Lee Sin going for it, does end up picking up the Zyra. He does get rooted before she dies. If that Jace Q hit, that would have been very close. Jace does get killed though for overstaying. Lee Sin throws a W to keep him alive, and boom. Grouping did work for my team. And that was even without the Aurelia, who you'd think would actually have a lot more, like, you know, grounding to the team fight. So here's going to be a big push. So they're going to at least get an inhibitor here. They potentially could look to, like, end if they end up getting 1 or 2 more picks. But it's unlikely. They're just going to back away. So Lee Sin does have ultimate here. So if the enemy team do decide to follow, Lee Sin could do an insect kick or, like, just do something, like, damaging. But that's probably going to be it for this play overall. Next dragon is a mountain dragon, and that is spawning relatively soon. I'd say in the next few minutes. We don't have the little warning up here, so it's probably within like 3 minutes roughly. Lee Sin going to do a bit more farming. So again, just a note with the farm, Lee Sin has maintained okay farm, but again, it's not comparable to the Graves. The Graves should have more farm than the Lee. He farms easier, he farms quicker. And that's probably also why the Tiamat purchase was for Lee, is to try and have a little bit more farming potential. But you can see the farm of this game for one lane is actually quite poor. It's mid lane. 159 Swain, 168 Kled. And this is like, again, just to remind everybody, this is where, like, you know, there's been some people over the years that when I've said it in Diamond games, on Ranked Diamond, people doubt what I say. Farm is relative. There are some games that you focus on farm and that's all you do, and you can have over 400 farm in one game of Ranked. A lot of games aren't like that. This is a challenger game at 28 minutes, and you've got your mid laner with 161 farm, which is relatively low, but it's because just that's how the game's gone. Like, they're a challenger player. They're one of the best players in EU West, but that's just the way that it goes. So, yeah. All right, so there's an out-rotation potentially happening here, is that Graves is in the mid lane farming the supers, minion wave in the bot lane, and boom, no one's defending it. Enemy team is way too late, so another inhib is going to be taken. Really good rotation. I don't know who called for that. It looked to be the Gangplank called for that rotation. Kled getting chunked down completely. Skull is still around, though. Enemy team potentially looking to defend. Lee Sin's off to the side, probably looking for a play. Gangplank ultimate comes in. Lee Sin's on the Jace, throws the Jace into the middle of his team with a kick, with a flash kick. Swain in the mix, gets a couple of kills. And that's probably going to be the game for today. Lee Sin flashes away. Ezreal flashes away, and that's probably going to be it. So a really nice, comfortable kick by Lee Sin. Uses the flash once again to get the Jace basically killed for free. So again, a standard challenger game. Not crazy, nothing over the top. Just a nice, smart play. And I've learned a bit this game. And again, if I learn a couple things, hopefully you guys learn a couple things. Yeah, that was pretty good. Again, he had very good mechanics. He was hitting most of his Qs. His kicks were very clean. A couple mistakes here and there. But when the team decided to group and Lee Sin could get a nice insect kick on the Jace, this game was basically over instantly. So that's going to be it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, throw a like on it. Subscribe if you haven't. And let me know in the comments what champion you want me to look at next when it comes to these learning from challenges. So again, I'll see you guys next time. See you.